whack-a-mole. All right. So I've just saved my file, and I'm going to need, obviously, some holes. I'll need a hammer, and I'll need my fox. So I'm going to call, because I think I might have lots of holes, I like to make my code easier. Rather than typing in the whole word hole, I'm just going to go with H1. So H1 will be a hole, and that's going to be an actor. And what I need to do is I need to load the image of that hole. So I'm going to click on my images. That opens a folder, and I'm just going to confirm I'm inside of Whack-A-Mole. There's my file. It's created a folder for me called images, and I'm going to go grab the image that I downloaded from, in fact, did I download it? Did I close it? There it is. I'm going to download this image, and I'm going to drag that into my images folder. And I think it would be better if I just called that hole. So my H1 is going to be an actor, and that's going to be a hole. And what I want to do is right away, I want to try to get that on the screen and see if it works. So I'm going to define my draw code, and I'm going to say screen.clear. That clears the screen each time in case there's any movement. And I'm going to say draw my hole, and I'm going to run it and see, does that work? Okay, rarely does my code work from the beginning, so that's exciting. I typically make mistakes. And remember, I can set my width and my height. Maybe I'll make a smaller game here. I think that'll be 200, and I'll make my width 300, and I'll just try running that. Remember, you cannot run your code too often. All right, so this is good. Now, so I've got an H1, and what I might as well do is I might as well try positioning. So I can see that an actor has to take an image, and then I could put a position if I want. So if I don't put a position, then it assumes the position is none. It throws it at 0, 0. But let's assume that I want, I'm going to go with just 2 values, and I'm going to put it at halfway down the screen. So my height would be at 100. That would be halfway down. And my width, let's put it, since there's 2 of them, let's put it at 100 and 200. So my X value will be 100, and my height will be 100. And then my second hole, again, it's just the same image, so it's going to be a hole again. And this time, I want to move it over in the X coordinate to 200. So if I run that, oh, okay. Why didn't it print the second screen, the second hole? I have to draw it. H2.draw. I created the actor, but I never actually drew it to the screen. So now when I run it, there it is. Okay, so here we have an example where, again, I didn't purposely make that mistake, but you don't catch these things unless you run your code again and again. I do 1 line of code, maybe 2, and then I run to see, make sure it's working. So now I've successfully drawn my my holes. Let's also create a fox. He will be an actor, and he's just the fox image. And I got to make sure that I get the fox image and add him there. I've got him from previous games. Somewhere I've got, I'm just going to go find my, here's a fox, and I've got a hammer as well that I think it's this one. I'm going to grab those characters. So the concept, you guys can go through and I don't remember where I put my hole. All right, so now inside of my images, I've got a fox, a hammer 2, and a hole. So fox is there, and let me try drawing my fox, and I think that should now work. Okay, my fox is up there, so that's looking good. Now the thing is that I'm going to need to put my fox in a random position. He's either got to appeal over hole 1 or hole 2, and I'm going to need to do that many, many times. So this is an example where I think I'll create my own function. So the draw function is built into Python. What I'm going to do is I'm going to generate a new function called define place fox. Okay, and I'm going to depend upon my random, right? So I'm going to import random because I'm going to need to choose what location to put him in. So I'm going to say, let's have hole 1 or hole 2. So I'll say position is equal to random.randint. And if I go with 1 or 2, then that will tell me, should I put him at position 1 or should I put him at position 2? So position, I didn't spell that correctly. So I can now come through and I can say, hey, if position, oh, I almost got it right. I normally just put 1 equals. If I get a position that's random 1, and then I'm going to say fox.x is going to be equal to 100, hole 1, elif, or else fox.x is going to be 200. And so now I've created this function. I can call the place fox function, and it will randomly assign this position of the fox. And let me try if I run that. Okay, so he's there. Let me run it again. This time he's over there. So that's looking good. He's at the top of the screen. I feel as though maybe I should be setting his Y position down a little bit. So put him 50 pixels down. Let me just see. Maybe even 100 pixels down. So he's kind of more in the hole. Okay, well, that can be fine-tuned after the fact. All right, I think maybe 75 could be the magic number. So that's great, but he's only appearing in one spot. So what I'm kind of, oh, that looks perfect. What I'm thinking is that I could instead, we have an update, which means it's going to change all the time, define my update function. Remember, this gets called all the time, so I could put my place fox code. Every time I update, I could put the fox in a new location. So if I try running that, okay, that's good, but that's a little too fast. There's no way I'm going to possibly be able to, or either that or I'll always get them. Like, so what I need to slow this thing down. So the way I can get around that is I could actually say, why don't I actually change my random numbers instead of being 1 to 2? Why don't I slow it down and say make it 1 to 100? And then that way, if it's a 1, it puts him in hole 1. If it's a 2, it's a hole 2. But if it's 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11, let's make it something else. Why don't we say elif, if it's a 2, elif position is equal to a 2, put him at 200. And otherwise, let's put him off screen. Else, put our fox, fox.x is equal to the width of my screen plus 100. So no matter how big my screen is, it's going to be 100 off to the side. So if I run that, oh, okay. So so kind of working, but now there's no chance in heck that I'm possibly going to be able to whack him because he's way too fast when he appears. But it does appear as though there's some randomness that's taking place. So what we need to do now is we need to make sure that when he actually arrives, when he gets to hole 1, we're going to say, hey, pause game for, or leave fox for a few seconds. Right? Does that kind of make sense? At this point, it's a 10-minute video. And what I think could be worthwhile would be taking the time right now to go through and try to generate this code. So I will save this video. I'll post it so people can go back through over the video. But the concept here is we've generated a width and height. We've imported our random library because we know we're going to have some randomness associated with it. I've generated 2 holes. For now, I think going through and just working with 2 holes is a good idea. And then later, once you've got everything working, add a third, fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever. I've generated my fox. I've placed the fox at the height that I want, that's in line with my holes. I've successfully drawn my holes, and I can successfully draw my fox. And then what I've done is I've created code that will give me some randomness for my fox, where I generate a position randomly from 1 to 100. Position, if the random integer is a 1, I put the x value of my fox over hole 1. If it's a 2, I put him over hole 2. And if it's anything else, I put him off screen. And this is sort of that randomness of when is he going to appear, now or now or now? That's sort of what's leading to that. And then within the update, I've got that function that does that, my place fox function. Zoom in. So I can place them, but that will only ever be called if I call it, right? If I, watch this, if I don't place my fox, I'm going to say pass here. I've created a function called place fox. So the computer knows what it means to place a fox, but it doesn't use it because here I've placed my fox at a position 75, but he's never being placed. So what I need to do is I need to now generate those random values by calling my function called place fox. All right, so I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to ask you to try to generate this code, and then we will come back in 20 minutes, half an hour, something like that, to continue on the game. Any questions? Anyone? Any questions remotely?